Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to take some of the world's most influential, sometimes dense source material, really distill it down, and give you the essential knowledge you need to instantly upgrade your understanding.
And today, we're tackling a really foundational text. It's Norman Lewis's guide, Word Power Made Easy. Hugely influential.
Right, and this isn't just, a dictionary or a boring list of words.
Not at all. It's more like, well, Lewis presents it as a systematic architecture for thinking. We've gone through the summaries, the excerpts, chapter by chapter, all 19 of them.
And our goal today is to pull out Lewis's core strategies. Think of it as a shortcut, really, to boosting your vocabulary fast, building that intellectual confidence, and, well, even achieving more professional success.
Exactly. And Lewis makes this big promise, doesn't he? He says, it's not just about learning words. It's an intellectual experience that will affect a radical change in you.
That's the core question, isn't it? How does his method, this structured, roots-based approach, actually make a superior vocabulary achievable for anyone, really, regardless of where you're starting from?
Well, to set the stage, Lewis kicks off with this comparison. It's maybe a little humbling. He asks us to think about how kids learn language.
Right, a typical 10-year-old.
Yeah. They're just driven by this raw curiosity, and they pick up thousands of words every year. Effortlessly, it seems. They just explore, ask questions, absorb it all.
Lewis even calls them accomplished virtuosos at learning words, which is quite a phrase.
It is. They see a word they don't know, and they hunt it down, they figure it out, they use it, it becomes theirs.
And then he contrasts that virtuosity with the average adult.
Sadly, yes. Once formal schooling stops, a lot of people just stop actively learning new words. And Lewis says the result is that vocabulary growth slows right down. Sometimes it's 25 to 50 words a year.
Oh, wow, 25 to 50 a year compared to thousands.
It's a crawl. And he actually says that compared to their younger selves, the average adult becomes, quote, a rank and bumbling amateur.
Ouch. Rank and bumbling amateur. That really hits home.
It's meant to. That contrast, virtuoso versus amateur, that's the hook. If you've ever felt, stuck for the right word in a meeting, or you couldn't quite express a complex idea.
Which happens to everyone.
Right. Then this deep dive is about Lewis's system for getting back that original, powerful urge to learn. And maybe shedding that bumbling amateur label for good.
Okay, let's get into the foundation then. Section 1. Why does Lewis think vocabulary is so critical? What's his core argument?
He really hammers this point. Words are not just passive labels for things. They are, in his words, the instruments and the tools of thought.
Tools of thought. What does that mean exactly?
It means they're how we grasp complex ideas from others. We process information through words. But maybe even more crucially, they're how we formulate our own thoughts.
So if you don't have the right word.
You literally can't hold the thought clearly. If you lack the word for a specific nuance or a type of logical connection, that concept remains fuzzy in your own mind.
Yeah.
The words build the structure for the thought itself.
Okay, that makes sense. It's the architecture. And this link between words and thinking power that leads him to connect vocabulary to success, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unequivocally. He argues a superior vocabulary is intrinsically linked to success. Academic, intellectual, professional. All domains.
And he backs this up. It's not just a feeling he has.
No, he cites research. Studies showing strong correlations between vocabulary size and things like salary potential, academic performance.
Okay. But that correlation point, we should probably dig into that a bit. Is he saying learning fancy words automatically gets you a raise?
That's a really important clarification. Thanks for bringing that up. No, he's not saying the words magically create opportunity. It's more subtle. It's about enhancing potential. If you can articulate your ideas more precisely, if you understand complex information faster, if you communicate with more confidence, well, you're naturally going to perform better, especially in demanding roles.
So the vocabulary is both evidence of deeper thinking and the fuel for it.
Exactly. It's a kind of self-reinforcing cycle. And the really stunning part is the timeline he attaches to this.
Right. He promises results fast.
Phenomenally fast, he says. 2 to 3 months of concentrated, disciplined effort. And he claims you can achieve an actual change in your thinking. Real, measurable improvement in understanding.
That's a bold claim, 2 to 3 months for a fundamental change.
It is. And he frames it as more than just memorizing. It's an immersive education in the complexities of human existence. As you learn the words for complex emotions, ethical ideas, scientific concepts, You naturally deepen your understanding of the world
Hmm.
and yourself.
Which brings us back to the adult learner. If we're supposedly these bumbling amateurs, how realistic is this transformation for busy adults?
Lewis tackles this head-on. He says the decline in learning ability isn't mainly biological. Yes, maybe we peak in youth, but the actual measurable drop-off after our 20s is minimal, really minimal.
So the old excuse, I'm too old to learn this.
He basically debunks it. It's not the brain failing, it's intellectual inertia, lack
Okay.
of curiosity, lack of
That's a
effort.
structure, maybe.
Precisely, that's the key. He insists that urge to learn can be rekindled regardless of age. And the way to do it is through structure. Clear goals, scheduled practice, testing. That's what works best. The adult brain is fine. It just needs adult-level commitment.
Okay, so commitment is the fuel. What's the engine? What's the actual Lewis methodology? This leads us into section 2. Let's start with his first big strategy, grouping by concept.
Right. This is a major departure from just memorizing random lists. Lewis organizes words around central ideas or themes, like personality types or types of doctors or kinds of actions.
It'll work better.
Context. When words are learned together, related by a concept, you see the connections, the nuances. They reinforce each other. Lewis argues it's much easier to learn, say, 50 related words this way than 5 totally unrelated ones.
Makes sense. You build a mental map.
Exactly. Let's look at some examples he uses early on, like personality types in Chapter 3. He gives you the vocabulary to describe the whole spectrum of human behavior.
Okay, give us an example.
Well, think about the difference between an egoist and an egotist. Subtle, but crucial.
Okay, I think I know, but refresh me.
The egoist is all about self-interest. Their own gain comes first, maybe ruthlessly, but often quietly. The egotist, they're just boastful, constantly talking about themselves, their achievements.
Okay, so the egoist might stab you in the back for a promotion while the egotist just bores you at the party talking about themselves.
You got it. One is self-centered in action, the other in speech. Lewis gives you that precision. Then he covers the altruist, the selfless one, and the social types. Introvert, extrovert, ambivert. It's about mapping concepts.
And he doesn't just stick to the positive traits, does he?
Oh no. Chapter 11 is literally called How to Insult Your Enemies.
Huh. Seriously?
Yep. But the goal isn't just to be mean. It's about having the precise words to describe negative traits accurately. Lewis even suggests that articulating hostility clearly can sometimes, paradoxically, strengthen understanding between people because it removes ambiguity.
Interesting take. So what kind of insult words does he teach?
You get terms like martinet, that's someone who's a super strict, by-the-book disciplinarian, or sycophant the bootlicker, the flatterer who does it just for gain.
Okay, I know people like that.
We all do. Then there's the dilettante, who dabbles superficially in arts or knowledge without real depth. Virago, which is an older term for a loud, bossy, quarrelsome woman. And chauvinist, meaning excessive, unreasoning patriotism or devotion to a cause, often with a sense of superiority. These terms carry, as Lewis says, derogatory implications.
So it's about identifying these specific types of negative behavior.
Exactly. And then he balances it in the next chapter, how to flatter your friends, precision and praise.
Okay, give me some positive ones.
Someone who is genuinely sociable and loves gatherings is convivial. Someone tireless who just never quits. Indefatigable.
Ooh, I like indefatigable.
It's a great word. Someone sincere, maybe a bit naive, but in a good way. Ingenuous. And someone truly fearless. Intrepid. It's about having the right tool for describing character accurately, good or bad.
All right, so grouping words by concept is strategy 1. What's the next pillar of his system?
This is probably the most powerful one. Strategy 2. Etymology. Understanding the roots of words.
Blah, the Greek and Latin roots.
Exactly. Lewis puts huge emphasis on this. Prefixes, suffixes, roots. This is the master key, really. Instead of memorizing thousands of individual words, you learn a few hundred roots, and they unlock vast families of words.
So it's about understanding how words are built.
Precisely. Not just what they mean in isolation. This is where the learning gets exponential. Let's spend a bit of time here.
Okay, we touched on ego, self, and miscellaneous, dislike, briefly. What are some other powerful roots he focuses on?
We'll take gamos, Greek root meaning marriage. Learn gamos and suddenly monogamy. Mono 1, bigamy, bigol 2, polygamy, poly equals many. They all make perfect sense. You see the pattern.
Right. You unlock the whole family related to marriage. That is efficient.
Or anthropos, meaning mankind, human being.
Okay, anthropos.
Gives you anthropology. Logos, study of. Combine it with misane, dislike, you get misanthrope, someone who dislikes humanity.
Any people hater.
Basically. Or combine it with philos, Love it. You get philanthropist, a lover of mankind, shown through charity. See how the roots combine.
Yeah, it's like building blocks.
Exactly. What about fetus? Latin for faith or trust.
Fetus. So like fidelity.
Perfect, faithfulness. Or confide to trust someone with a secret. And the negative, perfidy, deliberate betrayal, breaking faith. It implies real treachery.
Wow. Okay. That adds depth.
One more really key one, pathos, Greek for suffering or feeling.
Pathos. I know sympathy.
Right. Symbionts together. So sympathy is feeling together with someone. Apathy uses the prefix a, meaning without. So it's the absence of feeling. And pathological relates to disease or behaviors driven by internal suffering or compulsion.
So knowing the root unlocks the core meaning across different words.
That's the power. And Lewis applies this brilliantly when he talks about specialists, like doctors, in chapters 4 and 5. No need to just memorize long names.
How does that work?
Well, derma means skin. So a dermatologist is obvious. Cardia means heart. Easy, cardiologist.
Okay. What about something like orthopedist? That sounds complicated.
Break it down. Ortho means straight. Paidos means child.
Straight child.
Yeah, the practice originally focused on correcting skeletal problems, straightening out issues, primarily in children. Once you know the roots, it clicks.
And Paidos for child also gives you pediatrician?
And periodontist, a children's dentist, see? Etymology makes complex jargon logical and manageable.
Okay, that's really compelling. Grouping by concept, leveraging etymology, about the strategy 3.
Precision in describing actions and speech. Lewis believed verbs especially carry the force of ideas. We need the right verbs for clarity.
So moving beyond just basic verbs like say or do.
Exactly. Chapter 9, talking about actions. Instead of just belittle, you learn disparage. Instead of confuse someone on purpose with words, you use equivocate.
Equivocate, I like that. To deliberately mislead.
Right. Or to flatter excessively, maybe insincerely. Adulate, to forbid something officially, proscribe, and a really useful one, to make something unnecessary, often by acting ahead. Obviate.
Obviate. Give me an example of using that.
Okay, say you anticipate questions about a project's progress. You send out a detailed update before the meeting. You've just obviated the need for half the questions. It shows foresight.
Nice. Okay, I can see using that. And he does the same for speech habits.
Yep. Chapter 10, getting precise about how people talk. He makes you distinguish between someone who is taciturn, just quiet, maybe reserved, not talkative, versus someone who is laconic. Laconic speakers use very few words, but those words are packed with meaning. Brief, but profound. Think Spartans.
Ah, okay. Quality over quantity. What about too much talking?
He covers that too. Verbose means just using too many words, being wordy, but garrulous means talking constantly, rambling on, often about trivial stuff.
Okay, verbose is wordy, garrulous is chatty, and maybe annoying.
You got it. And on the flip side, when someone's arguments are really logical, persuasive, compelling, you call them cogent. These distinctions matter. They sharpen your own expression and your analysis of others.
This is really a system for upgrading how you think about language, not just learning words.
That's the core of it.
All right, so we have the methodology. But Lewis knows methods aren't enough without practice and discipline. Let's move into section 3, the practical path. How does he make sure you actually do the work and retain the knowledge?
It starts right away, chapter 1, with self-assessment. He insists you measure where you stand first. He looks at 3 things: your vocabulary range, your speed, and your responsiveness.
Range, speed, responsiveness. Okay, what do those tests look like?
The range test is pretty straightforward. Multiple choice, picking the right definition for words. It checks breadth. How many words do you basically know?
Okay, and speed.
Verbal speed uses timed exercises. Things like, are these 2 words synonyms or antonyms? Quick, or list words starting with B. It measures how integrated the words are. Are they right there, ready to use, or buried somewhere?
So it's about quick recall, not just passive recognition.
Exactly. Speed shows true familiarity, confidence, and finally verbal responsiveness. These are often fill in the blanks, using synonyms or antonyms correctly in context. It tests flexibility. Can you actually use the word properly?
So you get a baseline across different dimensions.
Right. And Lewis says this lets you target your practice where you're weakest. But none of this works without discipline. He hammers this point home again and again.
The D word. How much time does he expect?
He designs each session to be manageable, about 30 to 45 minutes. But it needs to be consistent. Spaced study and consistent engagement, he calls it.
So that promise of transformation in 2 to 3 months, it relies entirely on sticking to that schedule.
Absolutely. Fighting procrastination. That's the adult hurdle.
How does he help people push through when it feels tough or progress seems slow?
Accountability through tests. After every few chapters, chapters 8, 13, 17, there are comprehensive review tests. They check if you're retaining what you've learned.
And you get graded.
Oh, yeah. He has a clear scoring system.
Yeah.
Masterly, good, average, barely acceptable, poor, terrible.
No hiding then. Terrible.
Nope. You have to face where you are. And he warns explicitly, without careful and periodic review, a significant amount of learning is lost. It combats memory decay.
So the structure forces you to revisit and reinforce.
Exactly. The idea is to build momentum. You get these small wins on the quizzes, it reinforces the habit, and eventually, Lewis hopes, the process starts to snowball.
And it doesn't just start when you finish the book, right? He talks about lifelong learning.
Crucially, yes. Chapter 19 makes it clear, finishing the book is only the beginning. To keep growing intellectually, he says you need 4 ongoing habits.
Right, what are they?
1. Be actively receptive to new words. Don't just skip over unfamiliar words you encounter. See them as opportunities. Look them up. Be curious. 2 more. And not just anything. Aim for, at least 1 substantial book a week, plus several diverse magazines or journals. Get exposed to rich language in different contexts.
3.
This is the hard one for many people. Pause and understand new words in context. When you hit a word you don't know while reading, you have to actually stop. Look it up right then. Understand how it's used. Active engagement, not passive scanning.
Yeah, that takes discipline, resisting the urge to just keep reading.
It does. And finally, 4, open your mind to new ideas. Explore subjects outside your comfort zone, psychology, science, history, whatever. Since words represent ideas, learning about new fields naturally forces you to acquire the vocabulary needed to understand them.
So vocabulary growth becomes a side effect of being curious about the world.
Perfectly put.
Okay, this practical path makes sense. Assessment, discipline, review, and then lifelong habits. Now, let's dive into some of the specific, really interesting vocabulary Lewis explores. Section 4, deeper insights into language and life.
Yeah, this is where you see the payoff. The system gives you precise language for things we all experience but maybe describe vaguely. Chapter 14, on common phenomena, is great for this.
Like what?
Well, instead of just saying someone is really poor, Lewis gives you penury. It means dire poverty, lacking basic necessities. Much more specific, more impactful.
Okay, what else?
The idea of experiencing emotions through others, like getting thrills from a movie or a book. He calls that vicarious feelings, experiencing something through someone else.
Vicarious. Right, I've heard that.
And timing,
Yeah.
something that lasts only a very short time. It's ephemeral. He uses the example of fads, like a pyramid scheme craze, intense but short-lived. Ephemeral.
Ephemeral. Good word.
And of course, euphemism, using a mild or indirect word instead of a harsh or blunt one, like passed away instead of died. Or his example, lady of the evening for prostitute, softening reality.
Right. And he talks about nostalgia too, doesn't he?
Yes, and his take is interesting. We think of it as just wistful longing for the past,
Yeah.
but he points to the Greek roots, nostos, return home, and algos, pain.
Pain.
Yeah, literally the pain of returning home. He describes it as sometimes feeling almost like mild nausea, a sharp ache mixed with the sentimentality. Adds a layer to the feeling.
Huh. Never thought of it that way. What about describing people, particularly negative traits?
Ah, yes. His classification of liars in Chapter 7 is fascinating.
Yeah.
It really shows the need for precision when talking about something like deception.
He has different types of liars.
Oh, yes. 4 main types he details. First, the consummate liar.
Consummate, like skilled.
Exactly. They're masters of deception. Smooth, convincing, highly skilled. Their lies work because they're good at it.
Okay, who's next?
The incorrigible liar. Incorrigible means unable to be corrected or reformed. This person lies out of habit, repeatedly, even when caught. They just can't seem to stop.
More habitual than skilled, maybe.
Right. Then there's the pathological liar. This is more psychological. They lie compulsively, often without a clear reason or benefit. It's driven by an internal need, not necessarily logic.
Okay, compulsive lying. And the last one.
The egregious liar. Egregious means outstandingly bad or shocking. Their lies are exceptionally harmful, malicious, maybe shocking in their audacity. These terms, Lewis notes, carry strong disapproval.
Wow. Consummate, incorrigible, pathological, egregious. That's very specific. It's not just saying they lie a lot.
Exactly. It's like performing surgery on the concept of deception. Is it skill, habit, compulsion, or malice? The words give you the tools to differentiate.
Though, as you mentioned earlier, some might argue life's more complex than these neat boxes.
True. Critics do point that out.
Hmm.
Human motivation is messy. But for communication, for having a clear framework to discuss these behaviors, these distinctions are incredibly useful.
Okay, let's wrap up this section with that suffix "-ifus." You mentioned it earlier, meaning full of. How does Lewis use that?
Chapter 16 explores this. It's a great way to describe personality traits, often negative ones. Someone obsequious is full of servility, overly eager to please, fawning.
Obsequious, yeah, that paints a picture.
Someone querulous is full of complaints,
Ob-
always whining, hard to satisfy.
Querulous, like quarrelsome almost.
Similar vibe, yeah. Someone supercilious is full of haughty contempt, snobbish, looking down their nose at others,
Supercilious, got it.
and even financial status. Someone impecunious is full of no money, habitually broke. It connects back to the Latin pecus, meaning cattle, an early form of wealth.
Impecunious, wow, so roots, concepts, suffixes,
Yeah.
it all ties together into a really coherent system.
That's the whole point. It makes the vastness of English vocabulary feel manageable, systematic.
Okay, let's bring this all together then. Summarize the key takeaways from Lewis.
Well, the core message, I think, is that vocabulary isn't just about knowing words. It's the pathway to clearer thinking, stronger confidence, and a deeper grasp of, well, everything. And the way to get there is through structure, using roots, grouping concepts, and discipline. Consistent, focused effort with self-assessment.
And that idea that the journey snowballs, right?
Exactly. You put in the initial effort, those 30, 45-minute sessions, you push through the early stages, you use the review tests, and then momentum builds. You start noticing words, understanding them, using them. You get, as Lewis puts it, addicted to looking for, finding, and taking possession of new words.
That addiction is the transformation he promises, moving from bumbling amateur to maybe not virtuoso overnight, but someone actively improving.
Precisely. It's about adopting a plan, a structure.
Which leads us perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener. We learned Lewis defines sophomore as literally half wise, half foolish, someone on that learning journey. And we learned words like obsequious for being overly servile or supercilious for being arrogant.
And Lewis argues, words are symbols of ideas. So, if that's true, think about this. What unspoken ideas are we broadcasting about ourselves? About our own character, our intellect, our respect for the people we're talking to, just based on the precision of the words we choose every day.
Are we being laconic, brief, meaningful, sharp, or are we maybe sounding banal, unoriginal, full of cliches, forgettable, without even realizing it?
Understanding Lewis, even just through this deep dive, it kind of forces you to be more conscious, doesn't it? More deliberate in every conversation.
It really does. Choose precision, choose consciousness, choose confidence.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into word power made easy. We hope it sparks your own vocabulary journey.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.